If we look at these words, Melissa, you're going to notice that there's a slight change from when they're in the positive degree to the comparative degree. Okay. What do you notice is different about these?
Most of them have the ER at the end.
Yeah.
Kind of like a step up better.
Mm-hmm. Can you think of an example of when we might use this word instead of this version?
Batman is taller than a giraffe.
Mm-hmm. What did you do there? You compared, right? You made a comparison between one to another, okay? The man and the giraffe. Excellent comparison. That's what happens in this degree. We compare one to one other. Okay? So it's when one is compared to one other. Now, you noticed that the difference between tall and taller was simply a suffix, right? Do you notice that that's common amongst a lot of comparative degree adjectives, isn't it? Okay. So when we're in this degree, to make it so, we have to use that suffix. We add it. Okay. Now, there are some cases where you can't just add ER. You have to make some spelling changes. An example would be like this word, pretty. I can't just add on ER and have it spelled correctly. So when we have a word that ends in Y, what do you do to the Y?
You take it and make an IE.
Yeah, so just remember that because you're going to come across some adjectives where you have to use that rule today, okay? Now, also notice there's a word up here we didn't add ER to.
Why?
Yeah, why? Why couldn't we add ER to beautiful?
Because beautiful, I don't think that's a word.
You're right. Here's why though. This word beautiful, and it has a root word, beauty, right? It comes from that word. Full though is already a suffix. You can't add a suffix to a suffix in this case. Okay, so in those cases where you've got that suffix full, you have to use that word more in front of the adjective to show that comparison. Now, the English language, as you know, is full of exceptions. Here's another one. Good didn't become gooder, did it? No. So that's an example of where it totally changed form. It went from good to better. Okay. Are there others like that? Yeah. Another one that's like it is bad. We don't say badder. We say
Worse.
Worse. Yeah. So those you kind of have to memorize because there isn't a steadfast rule that goes with them. Any questions about that degree? No. Okay. Our final degree is called superlative. Now, we went from tall to taller to tallest. Can you think of an example where you use that word in a sentence?
The man is the tallest in the town.
Okay, good. So what we're doing there, we're still comparing, right? But we're taking one and we're comparing it to many. In your example, you're comparing it to the entire town, okay? So that's a great example. So that's what happens when you're using superlative degree adjectives. You're comparing one to many others, or two or more, okay? So when one is compared to two or more. Okay. All right. So what do you notice about these words when they change from positive to superlative?
Most of them have an ST at the end of them.
Yeah, so we're going to use the suffix est to make them superlative. Again, we have times though, right, where we can't add est. So we have to use what word in front? This time, most. Yeah, most. Remember that rule as well, that when you have an adjective that ends in y, and we have to change that to an I and add er, or est in this case. Okay. All right, any questions about the three different degrees? No? Okay. All right, let's do some examples that are going to be like your work, that follow-up work you're going to do today. All right. You're going to be given some sentences, Melissa, that are missing an adjective. Okay. Let me put one up here. Okay. And you're going to be given a clue about that particular adjective. It will be in parentheses. So your job is to figure out which degree to use in this particular case and spell it correctly. Okay, because spelling counts also in this particular word. Okay, so which form are we going to use? Positive, comparative, or superlative? Okay, so you want to say longer?